All right, welcome back. We are at it again. Exam number 5, practice exam number 5, getting jumped on it. Practice exam number 5, as always, 5 questions. 5 questions that we're going to go through. We're going to ask the question, we're going to look at the question, we're going to dissect the question, and we're going to give you that answer. The goal is to understand CySA better and prepare ourselves to pass this certification exam. That's really what we're doing here. That's what we're going after today. I feel like CySA is one of those undercovered gems. I really do. I feel like this is going to be the exam that is going to separate people with just Security Plus versus people with Security Plus and CySA. I have a feeling it's going that direction. I really do. Some people ask me, they're like, wait a second, Security Plus is always the entry level, and then CySA, they recommend 2 to 5 years or 2 to 4 years or something like that of experience before they take it. I would argue against that. I would 100% argue against that. I would say that as soon as you get done with Security Plus, you should be studying for your CySA exam. No, CompTIA does not give me a kickback on this. It's just I feel like they did a great job with the version 3. I don't think the version 1 and version 2 were worth it. I really don't. And I think it was kind of a joke. But version 3, I was pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. And I feel like Security Plus gets you that job where, or teaches the skills or verifies those skills for like a help desk, right? Like you're kind of in cybersecurity, but you're not really in cybersecurity. That's where I feel like Security Plus is, because it's just foundational knowledge. It's like, you know, what should a password look like, right? It's a little bit more than that, but you know what I'm saying, right? And it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. I definitely tell my students all the time, get Security Plus, right? But I feel like CySA really comes into it from a different perspective. And it's like, do you know how to read logs? Do you understand the output that this is giving you? Do you understand the tool that this output provides? And I feel like that is such a better level for somebody that's trying to get into cybersecurity, somebody that's really trying to get into cybersecurity, not somebody that's like fiddling around with it, not somebody that's like, oh, I work in help desk and I have a little bit of security knowledge. I feel like that's what Security Plus is, and definitely something that you need. But I feel like CySA is the first entry-level cybersecurity certification. Like it's that first one that's like, yes, I am truly cybersecurity. I have CySA. Just because, and I like the exam. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I do the practice exams for it, because I really do feel like it really propels people that are truly in cybersecurity to start their careers. I feel like this is the first entry-level cybersecurity certification. Like Security Plus is almost everybody's got to have it. Like Security Plus is one of those things where it's like, do you work in help desk and you understand not to be stupid? Take Security Plus. I feel like that's what Security Plus is there for. And definitely, again, one of those things. But I feel like CySA is truly that exam that's like, I'm trying to be in cybersecurity, or that's the route I want to go. I don't want to be IT. I want to be cyber. And I feel like cyber-wise, this is the first one, right? Like Network Plus is like the, I want to be in networking, right? And it's a great exam. And then Security Plus is like the sprinkles on top. Security Plus is like, not only do I understand networking, but I also understand what a password is, and I understand the different protocols, and I understand not to be stupid out of C's and click on phishing baits, and what social engineering is, and all these other great things. Where I figure like Security Plus is like that entry-level basic knowledge that you should have for cybersecurity, but CySA is like, I'm dedicated to being cybersecurity. Like I want to. And I feel like CompTIA did it wrong by saying it's a mid-level certification. I really do. I feel like CySA is the first real cybersecurity certification that you should have. All right, enough of that. I know that I'm blabbering on. I know that I've said like the same thing 5 times. Let's get into this. Question number 1, because that's what you came here for. What is the main advantage of using Security Operations Center in an organization? What is the main advantage of using a Security Operations Center in an organization? I wouldn't expect them to spell out Security Operations Center in your exam. I would expect them just to say SOC. What do you think? What is the main advantage? I need some like Jeopardy music, or some music that really comes into play and starts talking to you. Maybe the I thought about doing a clock, like a little tick, but I would drive myself nuts. And I would think my students would be driving nuts too. They'd be watching the video going, I can't stand it, turn off that stupid noise. All right, I feel like this one's a pretty easy one. So if you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. If you need more time, pause the video. Let's answer this one. What is the main advantage of using a Security Operations Center in an organization? Well, Security operations centers have nothing to do with data encryption. Nothing to do with data encryption. So they don't approve data encryption. And anything they have nothing to do with data encryption. So I feel like we can get rid of A. We can get rid of A. What about to manage software development? I think we know that a security operations center has nothing to do with software development. Like that's like the key thing. Software development is its own little beast where people go in and they work on it. That's not a security operations center. As a matter of fact, I would argue that a SOC has literally no software development in it. They write scripts. Like you could write a script in a SOC, but I don't think you'd ever do any real software development. To me, software development is like I'm creating a new video game, or I'm going to revolutionize AI, so I'm creating programs for it. That's not SOCs. That's definitely not SOCs, right? So that leaves us with B and D. B and D, what do you think? If you answered A or C and you want a second guess, I'm giving you time. I'm pausing the momentum of the video if you want to go through. What do you think? Well, if you said to perform regular backups, you would be incorrect. I'm sorry. It is not to perform regular system backups. We don't do that at a SOC. I mean, there's backups. And some SOCs do backups, right? They do backups. But it's not part of the, that's not their main priority, right? That's not really what they do. Their main thing is to centralize monitoring, because I'm monitoring everything that's come into it, and then respond to security incidents. I feel like this was an easy one. On a 1 to 5 scale, I would say this is probably 1. Because you should already have Security Plus. I think we just mentioned that, right? So I feel like you would know what a SOC is. Definitely a question I would probably see on CYSA. Definitely a low value question on CYSA. All right, moving on. There we go. That's our thing. All right. Question number 2. A network administrator needs to secure email communications with an organization. Which of the following protocols should be implemented for this? Ooh. Now this one's difficult. So I feel like if you read the answers, though, you got this. If you know what the acronyms mean, you probably have this, right? So remember, we only want to spend 30 to 45 seconds on a question. 30 to 45 seconds, that's it. We want to read the question, read the possible answers, then go back through and reread the question. What is the question really asking me? And then from there, we want to actually answer the question, right? I see so many times where students don't read the question. They're speeding Gonzalez through it. And then on both Security Plus and CYSA, even Network Plus, they speed through it. And they don't really understand what the question is asking me. Because CompTIA likes to give like this 1 paragraph long invested story where you're like, I'm invested in the story. I have to read through it all. And they have the answer because they read the story, but they never actually read the question at the end of it. And you have to read the question at the end of it. That's the big thing, all right? All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, as always, you can pause it. A network administrator needs to secure email communications with an organization. Which of the following protocols should be implemented to achieve this? Well, I think we can get rid of LDAP. I feel like lightweight directory access protocol, pretty the easiest one to get rid of. It's not even a mail protocol, right? So LDAP, I feel like that's the automatic one. Like, let's get rid of LDAP. I feel like that one's like, yeah, let's get rid of that one. Not even an email protocol, nothing to do with email, just kind of one of those things, right? So that leaves us with 3 others. Now, all 3 of the other ones are email protocols. They specifically have to do with email. So this is where it gets a little bit rough. So let's get rid of POP3. Let's get rid of POP3. Post Office Protocol, not secure. Not secure. Well, not as secure, I should say, right? We can do things to it, but not intrinsically secure. So POP3, Post Office Protocol version 3. Right? Definitely not the answer, not the best answer here. That leaves us with SMTP and SMIME. Both of those are good email protocols, but which one is the secure version? Which one do you think? Now, they both have S's in it, and as you know, I'm a big proponent of, listen, if a protocol has S in it on the beginning or the end, usually it's secure. Like 90% of the time, it's secure. But however, one of these is not secure. And that one would be SMTP. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. That one is not going to be secure. That means SMIME, Secure Multi-Purpose Internet Mail Extensions, or SMIME. Definitely secure. SMIME is going to be our answer for this one. There you go. And there you go, right? SMIME. SMIME is the best one of all these. Now, you could do things on top of both of these to make it more secure. You really could. But SMIME is going to be the secure protocol, and it's asking for the network administrator needs to secure email communications with an organization. Which of the following protocols should be implemented? Not which are the technologies. We're not saying that. We're not saying, oh, could you use this with this? That's not what we're asking. We're asking for secure. And if you take it from that perspective, you can answer the question, right? Remember, don't read too much into the questions, right? It is a certification exam. It's not a life skills exam, right? It's not your boss asking you something about it. That's an important differentiator within CYSA. Remember, only read what the question is asking you, and only what the question is. There's no tricks. What is CYSA asking me? And in this case, which of the following protocols should be implemented to achieve secure email communications? That's what it's asking, okay? All right, moving on. Question number 3. Ooh, I like these. You run a scan using the tool Burp Suite and receive the following output. And we see that. I'll let you read that tool yourself. Which of the following is a recommended mitigation for this vulnerability? What do you think? What do you think? This is where this is where it separates those that have a little bit of experience from those that have no experience, I feel like. This is why I like CYSA. And I feel like this is one of the reasons that CYSA comes in and says you should have 2 years of experience because of questions like this. But I feel like with the proper training, you don't need that 2 years of experience. This is why I say get take practice exams, go through it, right? Go through the process. Use these tools. Go on and learn how to use these tools. I provide YouTube videos on how to use a lot of these tools, right? So you just have to go through and use them. If you can do it in your home lab, you don't even have to pay for it. You can do it in your home lab. You can see the output of these different tools, and then you can learn how to read them. And I think that's really where CompTIA struggles, right? Or where CompTIA says, well, you have to have a few years of experience. And I disagree. That's why I'm like, have a home lab. Like, if you're going for that first job interview and you're like, I've never been in cybersecurity before, but how do I get that job? Talk the talk, walk the walk. And that's what I mean. I mean, go out and get a home lab. Create a home lab and then mess around with things. Play with things in your virtual environment and break things. That's how you learn. I'm a big proponent of that, right? And you don't have to pay somebody for that. I teach you how to do that. I have an entire Create Your Home Lab series. It's like 12 videos or 13 videos, and it goes through everything that you need to do to build that home lab. And you can go through that process, and it's free. It's free. All you need is a computer that can handle the virtualization. If you can do that, it's great. It's great. All right, let's answer this question. You run a scan using the tool Burp Suite and receive the following output. And we're going to go through this tool. Which of the following is recommended mitigation? Let's go through this tool, all right? So here we have our issue, cross-site request forgery, CSRF, cross-site request forgery. Here's our URL, example.com/transfer. We see a high severity, and the description, the application does not verify that requests are being made by the authenticated user. So it's not verifying the requests are being made by an authenticated user, which means you can be an unauthenticated user and verify that request, right? That's the problem. That's the problem. So which of the following recommended mitigations for this vulnerability? Well, I think right off the bat, we can say it's not implement input validation. Input validation would be good, again, something like SQL. It'd be good for something like, well, it could be good for security on a software program or a website or any of those other platforms. But in cross-site request forgery, if you understand what cross-site request forgery is, there's nothing to input the validation, right? That's not going to help you. And so just by understanding what cross-site request forgery is, you know that it's not implementing input validation. That is not something you need to do, right? Let's see, input rate limiting. Rate limiting doesn't have anything to do with cross-site request forgery either. Why would I implement rate limiting on a website? That makes no sense. That literally no sense whatsoever, right? So if you understand rate limiting, you know that cross-site request forgery has nothing to do with it, and that rate limiting isn't going to affect cross-site request forgery. And so that's not a viable answer. And again, this is one of those things where, again, do you really need to even use the tool? I even said you should use the tool and learn the outputs, and I agree with that statement, but I'm not even sure you need that to answer this question if you understand what cross-site request forgery really is. All right, next ones. Anti-CR cross-site request forgery tokens and enable HSTS. Well, HSTS is enable HTTP strict transport security. Well, when does strict transport security actually matter for cross-site request forgery? It doesn't. That means using an anti-cross-site request forgery token would be the correct answer. You'll notice that even they put it even in here, right? CSRF. CSRF, cross-site request forgery, if you can match 1 and 1, this actually really isn't that difficult of a question. So using those anti-cross-site request forgery tokens will stop cross-site request forgery and make sure that we verify requests are being used by an authenticated user. That would solve our problem. And there you go. The question number 3 is using CSRF tokens, right? Not that difficult. And again, didn't need to know Burp Suite, I think, to answer this. I think if you understood the theory behind it, if you understood what a cross-site request forgery attack was, and then you understood HSTS, rate limiting, and input validation, even if you didn't know what an anti-CSRF token was, you could answer this question, right? And this is where knowledge is power, right? Really going through and understanding what those different things are answers this question for you. You don't even need to know what an anti-CSRF token is. If you did, it pretty much solves the question for you. Like, you're like, oh, okay, it's an anti-CSRF token. But again, don't really do it. All right, moving on. Ooh, a nice little logging question. All right, here we go. A security analyst is investigating unusual activity and finds the following entries in the web server logs. What type of attack is most likely occurring? What type of attack is most likely occurring? I feel like this is an incredibly easy one for anybody that truly understands Security Plus. And again, if you don't understand it, it's okay. We're going to walk you through it. I don't want you to feel diminished by that, right? That's why we're here. We're here to learn. We're here to learn. And I'm going to show you the trick. I'm going to show you the trick because if you can understand this attack, you know what it is. And we're going to show you what that attack is. We're going to show you the telltale signs here in a minute, all right? So take a good look at this log. We're going to walk through the log, and then we'll walk through the questions, or the answers, I should say. All right, so what do you think? What do you think? Going through this. We're verifying it. All right, I'm going to walk you through the log. Let's walk through the log a little bit, okay? So here we go. We have our July 3rd at 09:12:23 seconds. That's when the log took place. It's on server 4. It's using HTTP. We can see that it's log number 6789, 6790, and 6791. We can see the timestamps, right? I always like, when I read logs like this, especially snippets, I like to read and do a compare and contrast real quick. That's what I'm looking for, right? And then we see a get, and we search PHP for Q, and then we see that, what is that? Not a quote mark, but a hyphen or whatever it's called, or 1 equals 1. And then we see HTTP 1.1, and then we see the 200 code after it, which just means 200 means okay. So it went through. And we see this, and we see the exact same code using basically 3 times, it looks like. Yep, the exact same code used 3 times, all right? So this right here is, this is our hint. This one, or excuse me, this hyphen or whatever the hell that thing's called, or 1 equals 1. Okay, that right there is our hint, okay? And that's the big thing, okay? All right, let's look at this. What type of attack is most likely occurring? Cross-site scripting. No, it's not cross-site scripting. If it was cross-site scripting, that would be on the actual web page utilizing the browser, and we're not seeing that here, right? That is on a browser interface. We're not seeing that, okay? SQL, well, let's move on. Let's move to command injection. It could be a command injection. It 100% could be an injection, because we're seeing basically what's happening is this Q equals. This means that the website, the web server, whatever it is, right? It has some type of field that somebody's populating, right? And within that population of that field, they're doing some type of search, and that's what that Q equals, right? So there is a point on the web page where people could type stuff in, and that's where it's being typed in. This little code right here, this little snippet. So definitely could be command injection. Cross-site request forgery. Not going to be cross-site request forgery. Similar to cross-site scripting, again, on the web page, right? So definitely not going to be CSRF. SQL injection. Definitely could be SQL injection, because we are injecting something. Somebody is injecting something into the website, right? And that's what this code snippet is. So is it a command injection, or is it an SQL injection? That is the million-dollar question. So we know it's an injection attack based just on this. Well, if you know SQL, server query language, you know that anytime we have this true statement, 1 equals 1, and this is indicative, or 1 equals 1, something, or 1 equals 1. So what they're saying is this password, this whatever, right, or 1 equals 1. This true statement right here, that is indicative of cross-site scripting, or excuse me, I can't even talk. That's indicative of SQL. Can't believe I said that, right? That's indicative of SQL. And so that is going to be an SQL injection attack. Matter of fact, I have a video out to show you SQL injection. We actually perform it in a legal and ethical manner, and I show you what all the commands are. And there's an entire document on different commands that you can download that are indicative of SQL injection. Okay, not all of them have this or 1 equals 1, but this right here, this 1 equals 1, that is so SQL injection. If you're ever looking at a question and it's this or and a true statement, like if you ever see a true statement at all, like 1 equals 1 is a true statement, 2 equals 2 is a true statement, you know, cow equals cow is a true statement. I don't think I've ever seen that, but you get my point, right? Where they're providing the true statement. It's in an integer format. I'm playing around, right? But if you see that, then it's a true statement. That is SQL injection, okay? That is 100% SQL injection. And so there we have SQL injection, all right? I hope that was helpful. I hope that you know that. If you didn't know that, now you do. And remember, it's not about our successes. It's about our failures, right? And what I mean by that is we've never learned anything from our successes. We've never learned anything from our success. We always learn from our failures. And so if you failed in life, then you've learned from it and you're moving forward. And that's all we ask. All right, last question for the night. Last question of the night, another output. You perform a security scan using the tool Nessus and receive the following output. And we see our little output. What is the primary recommendation for this vulnerability? What do you think? It looks like we're doing SQL today. We're all about SQL today. So I'm gonna give you guys a second to read through this. Well, I'll let you read through this. What do you think? All right. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. Let's answer this question, right? So here we have, I'm going to explain it first, right? So here we have Nessus. And Nessus is a web or a vulnerability scanning tool, not a web scanner. It scans lots of things. I don't know what, man, today I'm just not on my game, right? So Nessus is a vulnerability scanner, right? We have the plugin ID. That just means that's what they're using. We have our risk factor, that's high. That means that this is what Nessus considers to be a high risk or a high score on their vulnerabilities, high vulnerability score, right? Then we have the description. The remote host is running a version of MySQL that is vulnerable to multiple security issues. So we're running a version of MySQL that is vulnerable to multiple security issues. What is the primary recommendation for this vulnerability? Well, if you've heard any of my other videos for practice exams, then you know disabling MySQL service is not the right answer. Definitely not the right answer, right? We have to go through a change process. We have to request permission. We have to go through the entire process. I mean, if you imagine, right? Here you are, you're the security guy, and you notice an alarm like this, and you just turn off MySQL. Not that it was the major server that's running everything that's making our company millions of dollars or anything, but you just cost us a ton of money, all right? And sometimes we know a vulnerability is there, and we sign off on it. We say, you know what, we're not going to pay to have it fixed for whatever reason, because the cost to fix it is greater than our anticipated loss on a year-over-year basis. And that's a real thing. You learn that in Security Plus. That is definitely a real thing. So disabling MySQL service, not the right thing. And if you've ever watched one of my other videos, then you know that changing the MySQL port number doesn't do anything. It doesn't accomplish anything. I feel like I'm going through puberty. My voice is cracking. So MySQL port number, not the right answer. Definitely not. All right, that leaves upgrade MySQL to latest version or restrict MySQL access to local connections only. Well, I think that you know that restricting MySQL access to local connections only is probably a bad idea, because if I did local connections only, then only people in my internal network could access it, and we have no idea what this MySQL version is doing. We have no idea. It doesn't tell us. It doesn't tell us, is this only an internal website? Or is this a website that anybody and all our vendors and people that pay us money utilize? We don't know. And so by restricting it to MySQL access only, to local connections only, probably not the greatest idea. That's a lot like disabling. It's just a lighter version of it. That means upgrading MySQL to latest version would be the right answer. And there's some hints in here too. I want to point this out. The remote host is running a version of MySQL that is vulnerable to multiple security attacks. So it's running a specific version, of MySQL that is vulnerable to, or a past version or an insecure version. So that right off the bat, upgrade MySQL to latest version, that would fix our problem. So you don't even need it. Just by understanding this question, just by reading the output, right? That would answer the question for you. I hope that made sense. I hope that you learned something. If you did, I would really appreciate that like, that subscribe, and of course that little bell icon that says that you love me and you want to hear more from me. If you could do that, I would really appreciate it. There's our answer, by the way. As always, my name is Dr. K. We will see you next time. I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good one.